Thank you very much. Thank you for the kind introduction. Premier, it's an honor to share the dais with you, sir. I appreciate your words and presentation. It's an honor to be with this group here, the panel. We had Brenda a chance to visit this morning about some of these issues. And Ken, I just want to say thank you for inviting me here. Thanks to the folks at Focus Equities and your team who made that possible. It's an honor to be with all of you here today. There's a lot of people from Saskatchewan in the room. They said hello as we came in. So they're probably not paying attention, frankly, Mike, to what you said or what I said, because Friday is the Riders season opener, and starting at about Monday of that week, really nothing gets done in the province of Saskatchewan or with expatriates. I also want to recognize another former politician who's in the room. Mike Chisholm is the former Saskatchewan Party MLA for Cutknife Turtleford, and was very instrumental both in opposition in the early days in government in bringing change to Saskatchewan. Mike and Heather are here. They moved here. They live here now in Victoria. Mike, it's great to see you, and thank you for what you did back home. So just before I get into the topic at hand, I think it's important on a moment such as this, when there are perhaps even some media here, for all of us in the room, I hope all of us in the room, to emphatically state some support for the current federal government in regards to the trade issues we have with the United States. And there have been a number of issues. I may have had some disagreements with Prime Minister Trudeau over the years, and still do. But ladies and gentlemen, what is happening now and the position that our federal government has put forward deserves the support of every single Canadian, and it's something that we should be keeping top of mind and front of mind in the days ahead. And so thank you for that. Thank you for the chance to join together and express support for the Prime Minister and the federal government on the file. You know, there was a pretty pro-free trade president who came to that way of thinking perhaps just before and during his first election campaign in the United States in the early 90s. It was William Jefferson Clinton. Turned out to be a very pro-free trade president and moved things forward in terms of transforming the Canada-US trade relationship into a North American free trade relationship. And what many of you may know is that he famously carried a note with him in his pocket as he campaigned for the very first time in that election. The note was written for him by his senior strategic advisor, somebody who's, us political nerds, we know him by his nickname, the Raging Cajun. His name was James Carville. He went on to be a pundit. You probably recognize him if you saw him on CNN again. I'm not sure he's on there anymore. And the note read quite simply, it was in his pocket apparently for the whole campaign, in the future president's pocket for the whole campaign. It read very simply, "It's the economy, stupid." I'm probably going to be using that quite a bit here today. So every time I say that, I want you to know that it's self-referential. I'm not referring to anybody, certainly not referring to anybody in the room. You've been very gracious. Contained in those four blunt words, I believe, was not just a reminder to the candidate for his campaign, but also a reminder for the future leader, and a reminder, frankly, for anybody in leadership, at the local level, at the provincial level, and at the federal level in our country. Is the economy stupid? It is, after all, the economy in Western democracies and frankly all around the world that pays for everything that we prize. It's the economy that will, in a long-term sustainable way, provide affordable and sustainable housing. It's the economy that gives for each of us the broad tax base, hopefully with low competitive rates, but the broad tax base upon which we fund quality of life, upon which we support those who are most vulnerable among us, upon which in our country we provide health care, hopefully in a timely way, to the citizens. It's the economy. You know, in our province, we benefited from some good luck, Mike, in those early years in government, and there was some economic transformation that happened in Saskatchewan. It's important when that happens that politicians give credit where it's due, and in our case, it was due to the people of the province and our resources, maybe we got out of the way. I hope we got out of the way. And yes, we had a growth plan that hopefully reduced barriers to growth. But because of that economic growth, we saw significant broadening and expansion in our tax base. And that gave even our free enterprise government-oriented government a chance to do some things that were important. We had the longest wait times for surgeries in the country. They're in the birthplace of Medicare. So we devised a plan. We reached out to the sector. We did some consultation, and a few years later, we had the shortest wait times for surgeries in the country, according to the Fraser Institute. Now it's among the shortest. There's a few provinces that we go back and forth with, and you know, there was really only two parts to the plan. One, we needed to find some more money to buy some more surgeries, and that money had to come from that broadened tax base because of a strong economy. Two, we used private clinics to do those surgeries, to reduce the numbers, because it could happen more efficiently, and it did work. And you know, in that province of Saskatchewan, the home of Medicare, the home of Tommy Douglas, we were able to use private clinics, and nobody spontaneously combusted, nobody burst into flames. We actually we saw improvements, but more important than the method of delivery was the fact that we needed to be able to afford it as a government. And the only way to afford it was to either borrow money, which we didn't want to do, or have a broad tax base and a strong economy funding it.
Taxing a lot more
Government
people.
wants to do something meaningful and sustainable, and I'd suggest to you that they all do, regardless of their stripe, Mike. They all want to do meaningful, sustainable, long-term things. If they're going to do it, there is going, without raising taxes so that it's uncompetitive or borrowing money, you've got to do it on the strength of a growing economy. And all of that might seem to miss the point here these days in British Columbia, because your economy is strong.
No, it's not.
Congratulations. What's good for British Columbia
It's
is good for
corrupted and manipulative and stupid.
and it's good for the country.
No, it's not.
But remember how quickly things can change. Consider, for example, if a very volatile U.S. administration in this ongoing series of lashing out that we've seen, besides it's the Canadian film sector they're going to get next. Or they decide perhaps that it's the tech sector, or they double down on softwood lumber. I think it's reasonable that all of us, each of us as Canadians, take the long view of the economy and never lose sight of focusing on it even when times are really good, because it can change on a dime. And you'll want to go back and rely on those solid fundamentals that were put in place by local and provincial and federal leadership to help weather down cycles that are inevitable. And so I guess what I'm saying to you is that even as a government looks at housing policy in a response to a housing challenge, I believe it also must look through that lens of what might be good or bad for its economy. I'm not suggesting that there are occasions when that filter should preclude government action. Sometimes government needs to just step in to protect people or to protect the environment. But even a government that finds itself forced to do that, I believe, is behooved to still formulate its response in a way that is at least neutral to the economy and hopefully contributory, but at least neutral. You know, for my 10 years in public service, we were fortunate, but we did have a growth plan, and we looked at all government decisions through the lens of, well, how will this impact our growth plan? How does this fit in? How does it make the growth we're enjoying now sustainable? How does it diversify for the time when things are going to soften? And they have. And there was some powerful growth that happened. Our population grew, and for those of us in the room from Saskatchewan, that's a big deal. Couldn't get over 1 million people forever, it seemed. Well, we're 1.1643 million people, not that anybody's counting. Today, after 10 years, or thereabouts, we had the worst job creation record in the Dominion of Canada, and when I say we, I'm not meaning the government did this, I'm saying the province did this. Hopefully working together, but we had the worst job creation record in the country, transformed to the best job creation record in the country. And exports were up, investment was solid, wholesale trade numbers were good, and permit numbers were good, riders were winning, even a couple of Grey Cups. And it was all very positive. But with that kind of growth came challenges. We had a housing challenge in our province, and it was reasonably acute in our major centers. Rents were going up, Rental properties were being converted to condos in fairly unceremonious ways. People were losing their home because of it. Housing costs were increasing, not just the market costs, but the construction costs. Sounds familiar? Maybe the scales are different, but it should sound familiar. Vacancy rates in our major centers were both well under 1%, hovering around 0.5. It might as well be 0 if you're looking for an affordable apartment. And so what happened was there became political pressure, and I'm not going to be partisan and name from where the pressure came today, Mike, but the initials were the NDP, and they wanted, I'm just kidding. It wasn't just them. Yeah, it wasn't just them. Well, you're more of a statesman. You're far removed from politics. Man, I just got out. It's hard. It wasn't just them. There was a call in our province, reasonably so, for rent control. Right? It sounds like the simple and the right, the easy solution. There's retail politics that say, well, if people can't afford the rent, the government should step in and just control it. But we understood, we did our research, and we found, we looked at what happens
Listening to that guy makes me want to kill
jurisdictions
myself.
implement rent control. It has the opposite effect in terms of supply, and in the long term, people are worse off that face this challenge than they were than when you begin. And so,
depends what side of the fence you're on.
notwithstanding the attractiveness of it, notwithstanding the fact that our opposition did campaign on it, and I drove by those billboards during that campaign in 2011. I read the billboard and I thought, well, that, it does seem like a good idea.
Yeah,
Maybe we have wrong, because our solution seemed much more, less politically popular for sure. It was more long-term. The supply. Our solution was that we would use immigrant investment money and direct it almost exclusively to new homes. To first-time homeowners. It was called Head Start on a Home.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have direct government involvement, Mike. You're absolutely right about that. There's a role for government in providing direct support for low-income housing. We did a rental construction initiative where we had a grant per unit that we would match with the cities of Regina and Saskatoon or any city on a per unit basis if they would match with us as an incentive to developers for construction. We had other incentives. We provided more funding than Habitat for Humanity. We had a graduate retention program in our province where we provided students through a tax credit basically their entire tuition. They had paid up to 20 grand if they'd stay in the province of Saskatchewan.
Not even close, buddy. Does he
You
even
can use a
realize
portion of
what
that for your first home, actually, if you like, in advance to help them out. So there was a suite of programs we tried. The mayor here just referenced pulling all the levers, and she's right.
The best thing
I
he
think that's
said,
what
the best
has
thing
to
he said,
happen at the local level and the provincial level when we face a challenge like this. And over $700 million in private public money was invested since 2007, developed nearly 12,000 units. That's a lot.
And then later he describes there's pollution in the cities, there's the water, the very water's coming. How the fuck is that sustainable? You just buried yourself in the fucking dirt.
It took a little while, but together with the cooperation of municipalities who understood a lot of what Mike had to say.
You enjoy?
Yeah.